All right, welcome back. Martin Folse here. We are going to get to the phone lines in a second, but what I want to do is try to set some things and make them as unconfusing as I can, because to me, they became very confusing. On Saturday, we had Jerome Boykin, the president of the NAACP, on this show, on Bayou Time. Tell me on Bayou Time that indeed State Representative Joe Harrison was with this bill, that he would vote for this bill, which turned out not to be the case. But I'm not sure where all the facts were coming from, but just to let you know that I am factual in the reporting, let's roll in Mr. Boykin's statement, and then we'll follow it up.
I noticed you called the names, but you left out State Representative Joe Harrison. He is for this minority judgeship also, and he's a Republican. Several years ago,
he hadn't confirmed.
Several years ago, it was all a delegation who was in support of this minority judgeship. I didn't know one state representative or senator who was against this minority judgeship, including State Representative Gordon Dove.
Let me ask you, in fairness to Representative Harrison, has he come out publicly yet and said that? Because the last statement he had, he didn't know where he was going on the issue.
Yeah, I talked with the representative, and he clearly said he is for diversity on all courts.
All right, there you heard Mr. Boykin's statement saying that he talked to State Representative Joe Harrison and that he was for diversity. Now, he did not say that State Representative Joe Harrison was going to vote for the minority district. He said he was for diversity. On the vote day, here's what happened as far as State Representative Joe Harrison.
What we're trying to avert is create a division within our parish. Our council retracted, many of them in saying in their support for not understanding exactly where we were going, nor informing the judges or many of the associations that would like to participate in this process. So what I'm asking is that we need to review this. We need to put this in proper order so that we do get the support and make sure that everyone feels that they had a place at the table to understand how we can move this forward in a proper manner. And I therefore respectfully ask you to not vote for this bill at this point in time. Thank you.
All right, there you saw Representative Joe Harrison. Quite opposite of what was told to me on Saturday's Bayou Time by Mr. Jerome Boykin. Joining me live on the phone right now is State Representative Joe Harrison. Joe, thank you for joining us on Bayou Time tonight.
Yes, Martin. I appreciate it.
Let's set the record straight, because certainly it was told to me, and I think in the follow-up you heard me tell Mr. Boykin that until Representative Harrison tells me personally that he is supporting the bill which you are trying to endorse, I can't go on the air with it. And quite obviously, you did not support it. So what happened? Where did his information go wrong with you?
Well, I was told that, and Gordy Dove and myself said that we wanted the community involved in this from the beginning, and that we would do this according to the law. I requested a review by the Judicial Council to see whether it merited another court system, which they found that it didn't. And Gordy pretty much informed him that we would like to get the support of all of the political entities and also the people within the community. After the committee meeting was held, I was in two other committees at the time. I was told that they had all of that. Between that time and the time that this bill came to the floor, I found out that that was not true, that a number of people who had testified at the committee were giving false information to the committee, and it was only the information that the committee could base it on felt that Terrebonne Parish was wholeheartedly behind the measure. So that's when I questioned it. I said, I do not feel that this is the process that we agreed to, and it was not going to go forward until I spoke to the people involved.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Joe, were the people that were testifying, was it citizens representing, I guess, the makeup of the community, that were, I think in one case, someone in the committee said that Judge Gadry was also endorsing the minority district, which in fact, he wrote a letter, and we got a copy here in HTV, that he was against it. Is that one of the references you're talking about?
Absolutely. I mean, this was completely false testimony to the House of Representatives committee that had to make the call whether this bill should move forward. And unfortunately, it was Mr. Fazio that made that statement, and it was totally false.
Okay. What Fazio? Do you know, so we could get the record straight?
I think he calls himself Colonel Fazio.
Colonel Russ Fazio?
Yes. I think
Okay,
so.
and I'll check in all fairness to Mr. Fazio. But because there's so much made, I'm just trying to get the record straight here. I've been hearing so many comments, even from State Representative Dove, that there were a lot of accusations and a lot of pressure on him that if he didn't do certain things, that they were coming after him, in so many words. Did you feel that same pressure?
Yes, it was implied. I mean, the boycotts and the other things that were said were totally off base. I think that we're supposed to live in a society when we disagree that we're not told that we're going to be boycotted against because we have a difference of opinion, and one that is based on whether the law was correct or not. In this case, it wasn't, and they weren't willing to accept that.
All right, let me ask you this. So you make the vote, and you heard Mr. Boykin say that you were on board, and I wasn't going to believe it till I heard it from you. But when I heard it from you was when you were on the House floor actually saying that you were not in support of the bill and that you were not voting for the bill. So you get up on the House floor, you express yourself that you're not voting for it, you're walking out of the House, and something took place, and in your own words, can you give me information, because I think now there's an investigation that's being launched on it. What exactly happened?
What I was told by a number of people who were in the upper balcony of the chamber, that during the period of time that I was testifying before them, that a gentleman made some very crude and remarks that were somewhat threatening, which is under investigation at this point in time. Everything from he intended to kill me, he intended to run me out of office, and several other statements that he made at that point in time.
Was it, without names being mentioned, was this man an attorney in Terrebonne Parish?
He was part of a group that came from Terrebonne Parish, yes.
Okay, and out of fairness to you, I don't want to pin you because I know an investigation is happening. Until they release the name, I want to make sure that I hold it till I get the proper facts. But what happened after that? Can you give me a little more information on it?
Well, in the course of this investigation, which has been going on for almost 3 days now, there has been little change from what was originally said, and I had the opportunity to speak to a few of the people who witnessed this, and were appalled by the fact that we had a number of people from our parish that heard this and did not stand up and do the right thing, and that's what concerns me most of all.
All right, as far as I can remember or know, isn't it a felony to threaten a public official? And furthermore, doesn't it advance it if it's done inside the House of Representatives building?
Yes, sir, that's what I was told.
And no action so far has been taken?
Not yet. The investigation is still ongoing, and I'm frankly a little disturbed that we haven't resolved this thing yet.
Yeah, so I guess my next question would be, how does this sit with you as a sitting representative, that you make a vote, which is America, and your life allegedly threatened, and still no one has been handcuffed on this?
Well, it makes you think about what freedom of speech truly means, and how this could possibly happen not just on the street, but in the very chambers where the laws are made.
Okay. What's the next step? Have you talked to Mr. Boykin? I know y'all were talking prior, but where did he think that you were actually on board? Did he just assume you were on board?
He assumed that in many of the conversations that we had, and I told him that we had to go through a process in order to get to that point, and that we would review the process once it gets to committee, which I did.
Okay. But you never told him that you were indeed going to support the bill.
That I was not going to support the bill until I reviewed all of these circumstances that were involved with it, and in particular those people who said that they were not supporting it and that they interpreted as full support for the bill. That was very disturbing.
Okay. Is it, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
No.
you heard him say you were behind it.
Yes.
Was there any, what kind of forward pushing were you receiving? Did you feel like you were being, for lack of a better word, bullied into a vote or pressured into a vote, or was it normal procedure? What would you use? What word would you use?
Well, I met with the group, with Mr. Boykin and several other people that came from the parish for the vote prior to us going into session that day. And I informed them of my concerns and that I could not support this in any way because it was done improperly and potentially illegally. They did not tell me that they put in an amendment to the bill that created a district where certain people within our African-American community would be excluded, which they promptly said, no, they're not excluded. If they move into the district within a year that could run now, I said, well, you're disenfranchising a whole group of people, and that's not what the law is intended to do. It's supposed to bring everyone in and everyone making that decision.
Okay. Did they go further in talking to State Representative Dove? He had a heated exchange outside of the House with several members of the NAACP who said, in essence, we coming after you, and this is, I'm quoting Gordy Dove, not necessarily meaning physically, we're coming after your seat and we're going to run somebody against you. Did you get anything similar to that?
Well, that's what was yelled from the balcony by the gentleman that's under investigation right now.
Okay, but did he say it in a political sense or in a physically threatening sense?
It was definitely said in a physically threatening sense because he used some very vulgar language in his statement that he made to numerous people that were in the balcony.
Yeah, and Joe, I don't want to press you anymore. I gave you my word that I would not use the name of the attorney until the investigators are through, and I will hold to my promise on that. I appreciate you speaking with me, but I wanted to set the record straight tonight. I do appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Once again, State Representative Joe Harrison. We do give Mr. Boykin a chance to call in. From what I understand, he was close by when all this took place. I'd love to hear his side of the story and anybody else who was there for that matter, because this is something that happens after a heated debate, and you can debate wholeheartedly, but if indeed physical threats were made, it does bring this into a different level of felony, and we're going to wait to see what the authorities say. We're going to wait to see how they proceed, and in fairness to the attorney also, we won't mention a name until we see what their decision is made on this. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to open up the phone lines. Don't go away.